What's going on, everybody? This is Brother Dwayne. Today we're going to begin our series on biblical word studies. We're going to be looking at the Hebrew words, Hebrew writings, and breaking them down to kind of get a better understanding of the history and truth behind the words that we read every single day. This first series, the lesson we're going to be going over is the word Hebrew. I was inspired to actually go a little bit deeper and further in this after watching a video of a friend of mine, Brother Rabbi Ekweti Basil. He has a very, very good YouTube channel and also a very good Facebook channel. Please go check him out. For those of you that are new to the truth behind the awakening, the reality is that the biblical Hebrew Israelites, the Israelites of the Bible, are black people in America and around the world that are descendants from the African Bantu Hebrews. Okay. I won't go too deep into it. You can look at some of the other videos to kind of break down the truth behind that. But the bottom line is after 70 AD and some other instances of atrocities and persecution, you can imagine what the biblical Hebrew Israelites did. They went into Africa from Egypt, and then they basically filled out into what was known as the Bantu expansion. Now, Brother Rabbi Ekweti Basil has been breaking down on a video in regards to the word Hebrew and how the actual Hebrew word, the original biblical word, is ERHVERH. And what I wanted to do was break down how we got to the word Hebrew from ERHVERH. Now, you got to forgive me for my pronunciation on some of these words. I can read the writings, I can even pronounce them, but obviously I'm not perfect, so I'm not a native speaker. But first and foremost, before we get into our word study, I do want to talk about two things that we need to consider. One is getting an understanding of translation versus transliteration. Okay. You can go look these words up on your own, Google, but I want to give you a kind of layman's breakdown of what these words mean. Translation is a direct correlation of a word meaning, like the definition, between two different languages or written script. Okay. So you're going to take whatever the meaning is of one word in a particular language, and you're going to translate it into the corresponding language, the definition on their end. Okay. It may be two different sounding, reading, looking words, but they will mean the exact same thing in regards to the translation. Now, in regards to transliteration, transliteration is solely transcribing a word into another language while maintaining the original pronunciation. And this is done as closely as possible to the original language, but in a corresponding different language. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some examples. My name is Dwayne. Okay, and Dwayne is a Gaelic word which means little black, small black, or blackish. You can almost say like small, dark variation. That is the definition of the word Dwayne. Now, corresponding, the Russian translation for my name is Malakia Cherne. Sounds way different, but aside from my bad Russian pronunciation, that is the translation in Russian of my name, which would in Russian would mean little black or small black. Malakia Cherne. All right. Now, in regards to transliteration, again, from English to Russian, my English name is Dwayne. And that's what it looks like. That's how it's spelled. And then my Russian transliterated name still says Dwayne, but it looks like this. So what you see here is a breakdown. That first letter you see right there is a D. The Y, the sound or pronunciation is more like a U. And then between the next three letters will give you the Ein. The letter that looks like an H is actually pronounced with an N. Bottom line is that is the Russian for the transliteration of my name, Dwayne. All right, so now we're going to move on to the actual word Hebrew, because as Brother Rabbi Equated Basil had stated, the original name is ERHVERH. All right, you can look it up in the Strongs. That is Strongs H5677, ERHVERH. That is the pronunciation of the ERHVERH people or Hebrew people. Okay, so before we get started, I want you to remember some things. If you haven't learned this yet, you probably haven't. In the Hebrew, the letter B and V are interchangeable. And because Hebrew is a root language for all of humanity, you will find this repeated in all the multiple different languages, whether you're looking at the Greek, whether you're looking at the Russian, whether you're looking at any other Slavic language, you're looking at the Latin, you're looking at the English, whatever, you're going to see that B and V are similarly rooted together linguistically, okay? So bet and vet, and literally, I'm going to show you on the screen here, these are the two Hebrew characters for bet and vet, all right? So that's important to know, because when you're looking linguistically at these different words, you'll be able to interchange them and kind of get an understanding of how they were broken down. So the original name is ERHVERH. If we were to transliterate it, as far as the writing style, this is how it would look, okay? Now, the name Hebrew is literally a triple translation. It's actually a quadruple translation if you look at the Middle English spelling, but we're going to just say English is English and go for the way it is in modern, okay? So, in the Greek, you look at the Strong's G1444, it is written as Hebreikos. But what you must understand is that the H is literally silent. So in the natural Greek, it would sound more like Ibrekos or Ivrekos. So in breaking that down, the ERH sound, writing for is translated HE. And then the ver is where you see the BRAI. If you were to swap out the B with a V, you'll get a kind of vre. But again, when you look at it, B and V are interchangeable. They are going to sound very much the same. That's why they're interchangeable. And if those of you that have studied foreign languages or have family members that are or speak a different foreign language, you'll notice that they say that, especially your Germanic, your Slavic, Russian, Greek, so on and so forth. They're going to interchange. So that's where you get the herve. And then the kos at the end for Hebreikos, the kos is more like a suffix that states like belonging to. Moving from the Greek Hebreikos or Ivrekos to the Latin, it simply changes from Ivreka or Ivrekos to Ivrekos. So from Ivrekos to Ivrekas. in Latin. And then from the Latin ERHVERH to the English, you have Hebrew. But you may look at that and say, that's a really huge jump going from ERHVERH to Hebrew. But what you have to understand is that we speak a very different English than we did back in the day. The writing may look similar. We may have added some letters or took some letters away, but the way we pronounce those letters and words has drastically changed. And I'm actually going to end up showing you a video that kind of shows you what the Middle English of the Johann Wycliffe Bible era sounded like. But back to this.
Experience, doch known authority wherein this world is rich enough for me to speak of woe that is in marriage. For loadings, sith he 12 year was savage, thanked by God that his eternal lever, who spons at church door he have had fever, if he so oft me have wedded by, and all were worthy men in here degree. But me was told, so time not long ago is, that sith the Christna went ne'er but owners to wedding in the Khan of Galilee, that be the Salmon Sompla taucht I may that Ina shoulder wedded by but owners. Herkeklo, which a sharp word for the known as beside a well Jesus God and man spark in reprieve of thy Samaritan. Do hasty hard thief who spons, quoth he, and that ill command that new hath they is nothing who spond. Thus sighed he certain. What that he meant there be, he cannot sign, but that he acts. We that the fifth the man was known who spun to thy Samaritan, who many me she have in marriage, yet heard he never tellen in menage upon this number definition. Men my divine and glosen up and down, but well he wot, express without a lie, God bade us for to wex and multiply. That gentle text can he well understand. Ec well he wot, I side a mean who sponde should let a father and mother and talk to me, but of no number mention mad he of bigamy or of octogamy. We shall men than spake of it villainy, though here the weaser king down Solomon, he true he had a weavers more than one, he would have got it level were unto me to bear a freshed half so oft as he.
But back to this modern English Hebrew. Let's break this down so you can understand that Hebrew does have the root in ERHVERH. So again, let's take the very first letter in modern English, that H for Hebrew, okay? Take that H away because it's more or less silent, in which you'll get the letter E, right? That will become the first letter. Let's go ahead and think about what sound does the letter E make? Well, in modern English, it makes the sound of its name, which is E, and it makes the sound of eh. Well, originally, it simply made one sound, and that was eh. So if you base it off that, drop that H because it's silent, you will get ERHVERH. Because again, the letter E, back in Middle English days, back in the day, it did not make the sound of its name, it made the eh sound. So EBREW will make a ERHVERH sound. But then when you remember that B and V are interchangeable, and that originally the B sounded more like a blended BV W type of sound, okay, swap out that B for a V and you get ERHVERH. ERHVERH. So that was the original English pronunciation of the Hebraic ERHVERH name, Strong's H5677. Now, obviously, in modern times, we change the pronunciation of our words, and thus we say Hebrew. We literally pronounce every letter. There is no silent H. There's no really silent W. It's really just Hebrew. Okay? And so I hope this has been a good lesson. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. You can go ahead and contact me at DuaneForChrist@gmail.com. That is DUANE, the number 4, Christ @gmail.com. And until next time, many blessings.